All right, let's break down one of the biggest ideas in all of economics, demand. It's this invisible force that pretty much drives everything. And by the end of this, you're going to have a much clearer picture of what's going on behind the scenes, from the price of your coffee to your next big vacation. So to really get a handle on this, we're going to lean on a fantastic example from Professor Michael Rabib's academic lectures. It's a simple story about a flight to London, but trust me, it explains a whole lot more. Okay, first things first, we need to talk about a fundamental rule that, honestly, you probably already get deep down. It's all about the relationship between how much something costs and how many of us actually want to buy it. So how do economists picture this? Well, they use something called a demand curve. It sounds technical, but it's really just a simple graph that shows a rule we all know. When the price of something is way up high, fewer people want it. But when that price drops, a whole lot more people suddenly get interested. All right, let's put this into practice using that London flight example. This is what's known in the biz as a movement along the curve, and it's all about one single thing, a change in price. Okay, so picture this. A round-trip ticket to London is going for $1,500. Yeah, that's a pretty steep price, right? So it totally makes sense that demand is low. You've only got a handful of people who either have the cash or want to go badly enough to pay that much. But now, what if the airline runs a massive sale? What happens if that exact same ticket suddenly plummets to just $300? Bam! At that price, a trip to London sounds like an amazing idea to way more people. Now think about it. London itself didn't change. The only thing that changed was the price tag. That is a classic movement along the curve. We just moved to a new spot on the very same line.
But what happens when the reason for a change has nothing to do with price? This is where it gets really fascinating, because sometimes the entire demand story gets a rewrite.
The source lecture gives us a really clear hypothetical for what economists call a change in tastes. This is when some outside event completely changes how we feel about a product or a service. For instance, the lecture brings up a hypothetical scenario, like a political event that makes London seem like a less attractive place to visit. Now, the key here is that this has nothing to do with price. It's a fundamental change in people's preferences. The overall desire to go there has just dropped. And here's the really cool part, how we see this on the graph. This isn't just moving to a different point on the old curve. No way. The entire curve itself moves. It shifts over to the left. We are now in a totally new reality for demand at every single price. And this just nails the difference, doesn't it? Before, a $300 ticket was a steal that 100 people wanted. But now, after this external event changed everyone's minds, even at that same amazing price, way fewer people are interested. The baseline demand has collapsed. Okay, so let's just lock this in, because getting the difference between these two types of change is absolutely the key to understanding how markets work. This table lays it out perfectly. You've got a movement, which is always, always, always caused by a change in price. Simple. Then you have a shift, which is caused by everything else. Our tastes change, our income changes, you name it. That's when you're playing a whole new ballgame. So we've pretty much nailed down the buyer side of the story. But you know what? That's only half the picture. Let's see where this is all headed. Getting a grip on the demand curve, understanding what makes it move versus what makes it shift, that's a huge piece of the puzzle. We've just figured out one half of the entire economic equation. And that, of course, leads us to the biggest question of all. What happens when the people who want to buy stuff meet the people who want to sell stuff? Well, when that demand curve we just talked about finally meets the supply curve, they find this magic point of balance called equilibrium. And that is what decides the price of almost everything. Pretty cool, right?